Welcome into another episode, a late night episode of Betting the Pitch with your host, real_G Warner on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. Going to go through Champions League match day 6. So the last match day, everyone's getting moving on to the knockout rounds or potentially dropping down to the Europa League. Going to figure out all the permutations, going to give you all the winners for Tuesday and Wednesday, and have an ultimate best bet end of show. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe. If you're watching or listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave 5-star review. It'd be huge for our search rankings. And keep putting this out there. If you put anything in there and leave a 5-star review, I will read it. So, or I will have one of my co-hosts read it. Whether you're an NFL person and you're trying to get something, Schnicker will read it on Tuesday night as we record tomorrow. Or I guess we could get Big East Ben to do it if it's a college basketball one. But we would love for some more reviews. So please put those out there if you could. It only will help the podcast grow and potentially make us build even more of these things. If you're not a member of BetOnline or sportsbetting.ag, check the links below in the podcast description. There's basically free money getting offered as long as you follow the links. So I would go take it. I have taken it recently, and it is worth it because it's always better to potentially use the own casino's money against them. But I'm going to go through Tuesday first, pick a best bet that will hopefully qualify for the ultimate best bet there, and then we'll go through Wednesday's card and really going to talk through everything. I forgot to pull up the Champions League standings, but let's do it right now. And then we will get going with and I feel like they have the early matches still. I was worried they might not even have them over this little last match day, but fortunately we got two of the early matches, both in the same group because you don't want to give any qualification knowledge or something like that out there. I'm going to try to give what I've seen with line movement as well, and really just try to get everyone as much information, probably more than they'd ever want on Champions League, as we're eventually going to find a way to make some serious money here, hopefully. So, I guess that probably is on me now to bring up the Champions League lines, which I can find that in my million minimized. There we go. Okay, so we'll start on Tuesday with Racing Club de Lens hosting Sevilla. Currently, Lens a half a goal favorite at home. Over under is 2.5, juiced a little bit to under, and there's more juice on the Sevilla side here. We're going to go through the table. I think this is Group B. It is Arsenal on 12 points. Have already clinched, cannot be caught. PSV on 8, Lens on 5, Sevilla on 2. So Lens needs 3 points from a victory, and they need Sevilla to beat PSV. I guess I'll give the other line on that one. PSV at home, but Sevilla need to win on the road. Sevilla's playing Lens. Sorry, Eindhoven are at home to Arsenal. So they're pretty fortunate getting the top seed in the group that's already clinched. And there's rumors that there's going to be a very much rotated Arsenal side out there, which is a little bit surprising, but they have nothing to play for here, so I don't blame them at all. Eindhoven currently a pick'em, more juice on Arsenal on the road. I think big name head at the top of the group. Smashed Eindhoven in the first matchup. I think that all makes sense. Over under is 3 here, though, which is pretty tall for a team that might be rotating. Very juiced to under. So I'm going to try to go, I guess, fixture by fixture or match by match as opposed to the groups, but I guess putting that out there, maybe that's helpful. If it's not, let me know in the comments and I'll fix how I'm doing that for future. I guess this might apply to the Euro, certainly to the Europa League. So I guess I could make that different for Wednesday night's podcast, as I feel like I'm just signing myself up for a million podcasts, but that's what I like to do. And hopefully it's making us all money, either you guys money, making me make better bets, or be able to skip ones that I don't want. So in terms of, so I'll start and focus in on this. So that's the early window, both at 12:45 Eastern time here on Tuesday, United States of America. Lens currently a half a goal favorite, and they, in terms of movement, I haven't seen much. Maybe a cent or two on Sevilla, backing Sevilla, which is a little bit surprising considering how bad they've been all season. And they sit bottom of this group, and they've really struggled. Had to play an away match on the island of Mallorca this weekend in Spain. That's not great. Lens were in their own match, I think it was goalless, if I'm not mistaken. But I guess I can look that up. I don't know that necessarily changes too much, but it might potentially be a difference of having a good result. I don't know. I think goalless on the road at Montpellier, not exactly great. I guess it's good for their defense to have a clean sheet going into a place where they need to keep one. In terms of motivation for this matchup, so Sevilla, their manager, if he's even still around, I haven't seen that news yet. But they're bottom of the table in Champions League, awful in La Liga as well. So um, they need some wins, and they got to win here to get into the Europa League, which they somehow win that trophy every season. I've definitely been on record saying I didn't expect them to do well in this competition, and lo and behold, they're bottom of the group, despite I think having the odds to finish second. I want to say they should have been. I think they were second most likely to advance. I do have some money on PSV, so I hope that they can hold on and keep Lens a little bit off to the side. But regardless, Sevilla are going for it. They're going to win. They're going to need to win here. They are not scoring any goals this year. I don't necessarily think that's going to change. They've got a million suspensions, red cards all over the place. I think Dodi Lukubakio got hurt in the match against Mallorca in the first half this week. Or this weekend. So that's not great. He's one of the most entertaining players out there, and one of the considering Sevilla's age across the entire squad, they actually have some pace with Luca Bacchio, but if he's not there, then it might just be Yusuf Nasiri all by his lonesome, trying to put the ball in the net, and that's has worked in the past. He's bailed them out a million times, but it hasn't been happening this year, and I think it's really because the Sevilla defense is not as good. They're relying on the corpse of what's his name, Sergio Ramos, to and he's actually helped the defense quite a bit. I was really surprised by the performance of Tanguy Nianzou in their couple matches ago. He was making amazing challenges instead of giving away penalties and red cards, which is like a huge step for him. But there's a lot of problems with the FIA side, and they have to win here, but they are an underdog. So we could see the scenario where Lens are celebrating a draw, where they're half a goal favorite. And that would be, I think, music to any Sevilla backers. Taking that half of a goal on the road, it would work. Lens take that point, but I think Lens also themselves, they want to win this match as well because they need to get up to match PSV. Certainly not great if Arsenal are rotating like we expect them to, though the Arsenal traveling squad, seem to be full with big names. I imagine Ramsdale starts at goalkeeper, but that's also a big test to see if he can take that job, pull it back from David Raya, though it seems like Arsenal are going to stick with him, though it doesn't make any sense why they're doing that. But I'll leave that up to Mikel Arteta. So we got two teams in this matchup pretty much going for wins here. At a certain point, I mean, if Lens are understanding that PSV are winning late, they probably do everything they can to maintain a tie. But that's also like, it really depends on how much the Lens manager, which is the first Champions League, I think, for Lens in a long time, considering they're just promoted from, I think, post-COVID to Liga. So this might be a let's go for it. Let's try to win this match, which could put them in trouble late and make Sevilla in better shape, I guess, to get a win here and tie them on points. But then it comes down to tiebreakers. I don't have those in front of me. I feel like calculating them on the fly might not be great, and I might be wrong with them as well. In terms of goal differential, Sevilla are 2 behind Lens, but they're also 3 points behind. So Sevilla need to win. Lens need to win. So this might be one of those matches that is got a lot of attacking in it. As I've been playing unders, and I feel like they're generally overpriced in Champions League because they're really big teams, and everyone expects, okay, big team versus big team, they should score. I actually feel like it's kind of the opposite, where the big teams, they both always have at least somewhat capable defenses. They're not all completely maniacally going forward all the time. I'll change that, I guess, mind if I get somewhere else. Arsenal could be one of those teams, and they're talking about it just of the 2 games in this window. They might be one of those, but they're also worth over $1 billion as a squad. So they've probably got the resources for it. As for this matchup, I feel like under is probably my biggest interest here. I like under 2.5. In terms of how much I want to play, that is a very good question. I think really because both these teams need victories, and that's not great for playing unders. I really want teams to be pretty conservative, and I mean, I don't know that I love when one bad team is potentially trying to just defend the whole time, because I think that does cause some problems. So I guess it's not too bad. I think ultimately I'm interested in this more so in the under, especially because Sevilla matches have been going under like crazy lately, based on, I think, being expected to score goals when they really aren't likely to. But I don't really love Sevilla having to push forward and try to win this match. I guess it could work if they draw, but that's probably a solution that's bad for both teams. We might see both of these teams throwing their keepers up at the end of a match for a goal kick. There's a lot of weird stuff that could happen. Certainly not good for under, but I think if you're just trying to avoid an empty net goal and it's 1-1 at the end of a match and you have a chance to win that under, it's probably worth it if you can just dodge that bullet at the end. As for PSV, Eindhoven, and Arsenal, I'll remind that Pick'em there with more juice on Arsenal, and over under is 3. It's hard for me to really have an idea of what this line at Pick'em, far from what I made it, certainly suggests that PSV are going to see a pretty weakened Arsenal team, which it should be. They have nothing to play for here at all, besides maybe momentum, but that's not even worth talking about. So for that reason, I would think Arsenal are less likely to score, but they're going to have some backups or younger players trying to fight a PSV Eindhoven Dutch crowd, which, as I've talked about in this podcast, all Champions League continental season, essentially, the Dutch crowds are not ones I want to be against. So I'm interested in PSV. They don't really need to win this matchup. If they were a dog here, I think that's what I'm waiting for. I don't think that'll happen unless we see a better Arsenal lineup than expected. That's probably something I'd like to go against because, like, who knows how much Arsenal cares about this one. I would think very little. At the pick'em right now, I don't think I want to do much with it, but that's probably my lean at the moment. Under 3 is, I guess, I have some interest in that just because Arsenal, it takes a lot for them to attack, and I expect PSV to be pretty defensive, knowing that a draw will get them through. But I guess, I mean, I do like the push on 3, so I'll put that on my list. I like PSV at Pick'em and under 3, but really hoping PSV move to the dog, though I doubt that sort of thing will happen. Moving next to Group A, we have Bayern Munchen on the road at Manchester United, and a crazy group. Bayern on 13 points, can't be caught, nothing to play for. Copenhagen on 5, Galatasaray on 5, and Manchester United on 4. So Manchester United need a victory and they need a draw in the other match, which certainly is possible. I didn't at all expect it to be this bad. But I don't think anyone did. Manchester, and certainly losing this weekend and getting blown out at home by Bournemouth was not exactly how you want to go into this. But Manchester United currently a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 3.25, juice to under. And then I'll just say the line for the other matchup. Copenhagen, they're currently a pick'em, all the juice in Galatasaray, the Turkish Giants on the road. Over under is 3, juiced a little bit to under. I'll start with Manchester United and Bayern. I mean, Bayern have nothing to play for, but they did get smashed 5-1 against Eintracht Frankfurt this week, who had come off a midweek match and lost to, I think, Dreisliga, third tier German side, Saarbrücken, who had actually already taken out Bayern München. So there's a crisis at Bayern right now. I wonder how long Thomas Tuchel's going to be there, honestly. But I guess things aren't going so poorly, though they're trailing in the league. They're 1 game in hand from a snow out postponement, but still would be behind Leverkusen anyway. Manchester United are a disaster, though, and they got to win this match. They're a quarter goal underdog at home, but I don't know where goals come from with Manchester United right now. I mean, yes, Bayern München, they're going to play a high line and potentially could be playing a group of misfit toys, backups potentially. But they also seem to a lot of times play better players. I've really had good success backing the big giants like Inter in their last match day, even after falling behind 3-0. I was like, finally, they got me. I took the really good team getting a quarter of a goal because they rotated. But then they came back and drew and nearly won at Benfica. Bayern Munich have done this before as well. That's probably the side I want here, but they're favored, and road favorites are really not something I do. So that's not likely. In terms of the total 3.25, Bayern unders are just never something I want to do much with. It would make a lot of sense if Bayern just decided to put their backups. Like, you have to play with your registered players, though, and I think there's a limit to that. So it's not like a free for all. You could take the Bayern 2 with them or something like that. So it's probably not going to be that weekend of a lineup, but Manchester United are really hard to back right now. I think the total being above 3 at 3.25 does make me have some interest in under here. But man, that's a really tough thing to do, especially because Manchester United, if they fall behind, they're going to need 2 goals. And if they fall behind again, they're going to need even more. I feel like there's a big route to goals in this one. The total is taller than I made it, so I'll put that on the list right now. I really don't want anything to do with that, though, I'll admit. The other match in that group, Copenhagen hosting Galatasaray. Flip this, and I think the first time these on match day one of the Champions League, Galatasaray were a pretty big favorite at home. I want to say like 3/4 of a goal or so. Really struggled to get a draw with Copenhagen, but got it. And now that draw is really crucial because it's keeping Copenhagen ahead of Galatasaray right now in the standings. I assume Google is correct in tiebreakers, but you never know. Anyway, Copenhagen currently a pick 'em, but all the juice in Galatasaray on the road. I think this is going to be a really inspired effort for Copenhagen at home. Both of these teams know that if they draw, they get through. And I guess if they excuse me, if they draw, they don't necessarily get through if Manchester United win. I don't. It would come down to the tiebreaker also for third place that gets to the Europa League. I mean, we've seen some incredible last match day results that end up getting the big giant club through. Cough, cough. You never know who's leaning on the referees for a late penalty or something like that. Though I'm sure that would be super obvious. And I know UEFA is trying to go for a cleaner reputation than they've had in the past. But regardless, I think both these clubs are, I mean, if they see Manchester United winning, then game plans change and they need to win because they want to go through. But the finances and the prestige of even dropping into the Europa League is still significant for both of these clubs. I think bigger for Copenhagen. So it's possible we see Copenhagen a little bit more defensive. I'm gonna have to definitely look up the tiebreaker on this one, though, based on where they're sitting now and drawing the first time, it does seem that Copenhagen with a one goal better goal differential might be enough to get them through. Maybe that's the second tiebreaker after head to head. So draw, unfortunately, pick 'em doesn't pay anything because it'd push and give you all your money back. So I think I'm waiting to see if Copenhagen move to a quarter goal underdog. That's my biggest interest here. I also think they're going to play defensively, try to counterattack. They came off a goalless draw with Bayern, which really put them in great position because I think everyone expected a loss there, especially I think on the road in Munich or in München. I feel like Copenhagen is the side I want. The Turkish teams, what I've seen is they've never really delivered on expectations. Maybe I've had higher expectations because it's a bigger league and they always have big name players from across Europe, but the talent usually is over the hill is what I've found. They're still paying and making a lot of money, I'm sure. But I think Copenhagen's the home dog that I want here. And as I think if you follow any of the college basketball, which I've been rolling in, you'll know that I do love home teams. And I don't think anything has really swayed me from that. Just trying to find as many home dogs that don't get beat up as quickly as possible. Just hang around and then try to avoid those late penalties. So I'll put Copenhagen on the list. I guess at Pick'em, I want to see a quarter there. And I like under 3 because I think the home team's going to play a very defensive brand of football. Galatasaray, they're going to go for it and try to win this on the road. I expect them to be very naive and overextend themselves, but I think plays into Copenhagen even more. So that push on 3 is pretty important for the total. I think you see a 2-1 result either way is possible. And then at least you get your money back. But this could be one of those really, really big stalemates. And if Bayern are winning, then this might come down to a late set piece or something like that, late mistake, though it does end on 90 minutes. So those clocks tick away. And I feel like the Champions League officials have not been keeping to the 10 minutes of stoppage time like they do everywhere else. Now I'll move to the next, and again, just stick with me. I will be summing up with a Tuesday best bet and then a Wednesday best bet and combining those into a little video, which if you subscribe on Instagram, you can see those, or on YouTube, shorts possible area. You can see it all summarized. And I'm trying to get those out as soon as possible so that people can see them. But regardless, we'll go now to Group C, where Real Madrid are on top with 15 points, winning all 5 of their matches. So I don't know how many of those have been deserved. Napoli second on 7, Braga third on 4, and Union Berlin last on 2 points. So Napoli can be caught if Braga win. They're playing head to head. So that'll be interesting. I think it was a 1-goal differential last time around on a late own goal after Braga finally equalized after, I think, outplaying Napoli. Napoli are in a lot better state right now, though, coming off, unfortunately, a loss to Juventus for them, but new managers come in to some success. I'm not sure I'm a believer long term. But regardless, Braga are trying to win here to get through in the group. A draw would make it very hard, would force Union Berlin to upset and get a win against Real Madrid, though Real Madrid Probably have nothing to play for here. I would expect Bellingham sits. Maybe Jose Lu comes out there and starts, though I feel like he's probably best to play out there. Maybe they protect Rodrigo as well. Um, Union are going to have to go for it and got a really good result this weekend, though they got, I think, very fortunate on a early penalty. And when you score goals, the goals change matches, and that got them off the schneid. I'm still not a believer, though. So we'll start with, and I guess from a Braga perspective, Europa League would be great for them. So a draw would mean that Union could at best tie them, and they won. They beat Union, I think, drew them the next round. So they should have the tiebreaker there. So pretty much Union have to win and Braga have to lose for Braga not to go to the Europa League. So I could see them being a little bit more conservative, though I think they still want to win to potentially force us into a tiebreaker with Napoli, though they're 3 goals behind in goal differential. So that might mean they have to push forward a little bit even more late, which if they're leading and if they have to win by a lopsided amount, that doesn't really fit this side here, though. Napoli, a 1.25 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Braga on the road over under is 3, and juice is split both ways. Union Berlin, a 0.5 goal underdog at home. Almost all the juice on Real Madrid over under is 3, juice to under. So we'll start with Sporting Braga. So I thought they were really competitive in that first matchup. Fell behind, didn't deserve it. Equalized, I think, deservedly, and then had a shank, basically clearance from their center back, which unfortunately went in the net. And Napoli won and kind of set this whole group ablaze. And it worked out for Napoli, put them in a really great position here. Napoli at home, they have a big crowd. I went to their match against AC Milan earlier this season. I don't think I was that impressed by the atmosphere until Milan decided to throw a flare on the pitch, and then Napoli just basically bombed the entire away fan section, which was pretty sweet. I do say that with a Milan jersey on, though I wore a Napoli related thing to that one, just in case that's probably why I made it out alive. But I don't think it's that dangerous anyway. Sporting Braga go in. They want to win this match. They want to draw to guarantee their position in Europa League, and they know that they're not as strong as last year's Scudetto winners or Italian champions. So I think we see Sporting Braga play conservatively to start, and that fits into the under 3 as well. Though at some point, Braga, they want to keep going in Champions League. They probably turn on the Jets and they try to win this one. I think just from I like the the road dog. I like the under, especially I think Napoli's offense is something we can question. Victor Osimhen is getting healthier. I don't remember if he started this weekend or on Friday. I guess it was this weekend technically. But every day that goes by, he's more likely to get into that starting lineup, and that does change Napoli and make them a much better and different team. It does threaten Sporting Braga as a 1.25 underdog on the road. It also threatens under 3. But I haven't really seen a ton from him. Yes, he assisted a game winner off a big mistake at Atalanta off the last international break. I want to see this Napoli lineup and see if Kvaratskhelia, Maradona is starting, and see if they're back to potentially getting what was a Maradona or Kvaratskhelia is the proper way to say his name, Osimhen, and then I think Politano on the right is probably their best option right now. Saw him score a great goal against Milan in that match in a comeback draw, which was pretty impressive from 2-0 down at halftime. But I like Braga here. I might probably like under 3 more than I like 1.25. Just because there's a lot more safety. They could lose 3-0 and I push, whereas they could lose 2-1, push on the total as well. And only that would end up paying half of the bet. And it's possible that this even falls to 1 as well. But I do think Napoli, knowing that a draw will get them to Champions League, that does potentially change and make them play a lot more conservatively at the end. Yes, it does probably leave Sporting Braga pushing forward and leaving counterattacking space, but probably unlike, I mean, I don't think they're really going, well, I guess to draw, they're probably going for it crazily. So that would be really bad with a +1 or +1.25 if you give up an empty netter like that late. I think it really, I mean, I'm going to have to make the decision on how close do I think Sporting Braga play this. It might take a Napoli lineup to make me feel a little bit better about what I'm doing here. But that's kind of the way I see that one. So I guess I lean to Braga getting that 1.25 and also the under 3. Next we'll move to Union Berlin. So they're going to have to win to jump over Braga. If they do get over, they get a win and Braga lose, then Union could go to the Europa League. Though they're really most worried, I think, about staying in the Bundesliga. Got a big win this weekend, but they were bottom of the table for a Champions League team, which is incredible. But it's been a nice ride financially for me doing that. Currently, Union, I don't really know if I want to back them at home to Real Madrid. They played them about as tight as you could until a late goal, of course, as Real Madrid always score those. The new age Manchester United, it seems. But ultimately, I think Union play the same defensive style, even against Real Madrid backups. I haven't seen a ton of changes made by the new manager at Union Berlin, which I'm going to forever think they made the wrong decision. Allegedly, it was mutual, but letting Urs Fischer go, he's the reason why Union got here. We're in the Bundesliga at all, then in Europe, and then in Champions League. All that sort of stuff was because of that man, and he should have stuck around as long as he pleased. But regardless, I think they're going to play defensively against Real Madrid, who I don't think are going to be playing their best players. So under 3 is my biggest interest there. Real Madrid have no real interest in winning, but I think they are in a position where they, of course, want the prestige of Real Madrid. They all want to go out there and score. And I think they're going to have a lot of the ball because that's the way Union's been playing for 4 or 5 years since they've been in the Bundesliga. Don't really think I like the side as much though, because I don't even know that Union playing defensive way against Real Madrid is good for them to try to win. Last group to do for Tuesday matches is Group D. Real Sociedad currently on 11 points, tied with Inter on 11, Salzburg on 4 in third place, and Benfica on 1 in last at the bottom. I did already cash my Real Sociedad to advance here. Probably should have played them to win the group, but certainly going on the road to Inter in the last match day is going to be tough. They outplayed them the first time, but only got a draw, and that's what currently has cost them the group, I think. Currently, Inter a 3/4 goal favorite right now with all the juice. It was 1 at one point, very juiced in Real Sociedad side. I imagine that ping pongs around for a while. I'm a pretty firm believer in I guess it's equivalent to buying the hook in American sport, but if you can get a +1 instead of a +3/4, it's a nice little thing to push on if you lose by a single goal. Over under here is 2.5, juiced all the way to over. Don't know who we've been watching because Real Sociedad matches have been really low scoring, especially in this competition. And I think you could say that about Inter as well, unless they fall behind 3-0. I guess both did score a fair amount this weekend. Inter got 3 goals at the end of the first half. I think you could say the same thing about Sociedad with 2 corner kicks. So maybe there's a little bit of an overreaction to high scoring weekends that I don't really believe in. So I'll take that if it's necessary. In terms of it doesn't matter for advancing. It's these two playing for the top of the group, which I think does matter. We saw Real Sociedad rotate a little bit this weekend, I think, in preparation for this Champions League match. Inter Milan, I'm not sure they did the same, though the big lead in the first half certainly allowed them to work on getting guys rested for a pivotal Champions League match after pretty much disemboweling Udinese. But in terms of how this match is going to go, I think Inter want to play a counterattacking style, and they're probably going to give Real Sociedad the ball. That's not stopped Inter from covering spreads for a long time and winning and getting the Champions League final and nearly winning it last year. But I don't really like that as a potentially 1-goal favorite. I'm certainly looking out to see if I can get a reasonably priced one, and I might just lock it in because I'm not really worried about getting even money on +1 or even seeing this hit 1.25. I think this is going to be lined like a close match. And honestly, at 3/4 of a goal, I think it's kind of insulting to Real Sociedad for how well they played against Inter. They certainly are not the same efficient team that Inter Milan are, but ultimately I think Sociedad have potentially win the possession battle. It makes it even harder for a team to cover a spread as a big favorite, which winning by 2 goals, I think, is very unlikely for Inter. And so for that reason, I also think that under 2.5 is valuable. We might see this at 2 3/4, which is pretty low for a Champions League total. As you've been listening this whole time, most are at 3, it seems, but I think that's for good reason. I think it's going to be a really tight match. I think a draw. Well, then it comes down to, I guess, who has the better goal differential, which Sociedad is 2 better than Inter. So I mean, maybe Inter go for this a little bit more, but they're still the side that doesn't really want the ball and hasn't really wanted it ever since Antonio Conte was around, the coach before, manager before Simone Inzaghi. So I think this lines up pretty well for Real Sociedad getting to play their game. They're awesome, all homegrown. I've been backing them for a while. First European match also gives me a little bit of love for them because it's the first match I went to in Spain or even in Europe, period. But I'm also waiting to see if that total hits 2 3/4. It probably doesn't get to 3, but I would like that as well. As for the other match, doesn't really matter for the top seed portion at all. It's really just whoever wins this one. Salzburg and Benfica. Salzburg won the first matchup, I believe, after an early red card for Benfica. So there's going to have to be a win and a lot of damage done by Benfica here. Red Bull Salzburg are currently a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice over unders 2 3/4 and is juiced to over. Benfica were second most likely to advance in this group. That's why I bet Salzburg. I wasn't a believer in them. I didn't expect it to be this bad, literally on no points until the last round. And we're coasting to victory up 3-0 on Inter's backups and then end up only getting a draw and barely getting one at that. Benfica's gotten red cards in 2 of their 5 matches so far, and might be more than that if I haven't really been counting that clearly. Have looked really poor. Took the old Salzburg manager Roger Schmidt. I think it's been working in the Liga Portugal, but ultimately not in Champions League. And now they go on the road and they're supposed to win. It feels to me that Benfica have been getting too much respect. I feel like ever since they sold Darwin Nunez, I feel like they've struggled to replace him. They've certainly added new players and brought in big ones, big names from all over the place, but they haven't delivered. So, and they got to go all out because a draw is not going to do anything for them. I mean, you certainly see them pulling the goalie and sending him off the pitch to try to win a match late. Though I think they need to win by more than a goal to get it back into. And I think that's where then some problems occur is if Benfica win 1-0. Both these teams are trying to get to Europa League. That's all that's on their availability here. I think both could probably be formidable opponents, especially after getting Champions League 6 of them matches in under their belts before they go to lower competition. But I guess the problem is if Benfica do win or if they're leading 1-0, Salzburg are still defending, Benfica are pushing for more goals. That does potentially open up that empty net factor I was just talking about, but also means that Salzburg are celebrating despite losing and still moving on in the group. Because really, it doesn't matter how they do against the spread. They're just wanting to make sure they get into the Europa League. So those are all questions, but it still makes me want to go against a Benfica side that I think is getting priced like they've been a good team this competition. They have not. I think it's reflecting expectations from earlier in this campaign, and they haven't lived up to them. So I like the Red Bull Salzburg side. I guess that makes me a little bit more nervous about under 3 or under 2 1/4, under 2 3/4 right now. Easy for me to say. I think if that hits 3, there's at least a little bit safety. It might get there by the time we kick off on Tuesday afternoon here in the United States. But I think until that happens, I don't think I want anything to do with the total. So I think Salzburg is probably my interest in that one and ultimately where I want to go. Now for my best bet on Tuesday, I'll give that in 1 second before we move to the Wednesday card. If you're like I said earlier, if you're not at sportsbetting.ag, they will literally give you $500 free to use within 30 days if you're a first-time depositor. So go check the link below. If you follow that link, I think it queues you up. It'll tell you the promo code to enter on the site. I just did it this week. It worked. I got 500 free bucks. Unfortunately, I won that bet, so I didn't. I wish kind of that I had lost the free money bet, but anyway, I guess getting free money is better. It expires after you use it, so if you don't use it, you lose it within 30 days, like I said. But basically, it's a free bet, free $500. If you put $500 in, you can use it, and you don't have to use it all in one bet. So I'd check that out. Sportsbetting.ag. There's a link below. Also another one for BetOnline, 50% bonus there. So not as lucrative, but certainly still a big one. And if you're not there, I suggest getting as many outs as possible. So for my best bet for Tuesday, I'm going to go with that Union Berlin under 3 goals. I think they're going to play really conservatively. I think Real Madrid rotates significantly for this matchup, and they're a late goal scoring team that I think they won't have their best players coming in to score those late. And Union have something to play for. So we'll see about that. But that's my interest there. Very close to picking the Sociedad match as well, but I'm still waiting for some movement there, and I don't want to lock that in with a line that doesn't exist, and also don't want to lock that in until we get something a little bit better. So moving to Wednesday, and then we'll sum it up best bets, end of show with an ultimate best bet, as I'll always do on all these soccer podcasts. We'll start with, it looks like the last group, I think it is, Group G. Man City on 15 points, Leipzig on 9 after a controversial win in the last round. Young Boys on 4, Crvena Zvezda, Red Star Belgrade on 1. So Man City can't be caught. They've won the group. Should impact their lineup, as well as Leipzig, who got a big win on the road at Dortmund this weekend. Young Boys They just need to better Venezda's result, but they beat them, so they're pretty much through. I think they have the tiebreaker with Venezda because they drew the first time, though came from behind to do that, did Young Boys. So what does Red Star Belgrade have to play for here? I don't really know. They should be more, I guess, not getting embarrassed. Serbian pride, something like that. I think they should be more focused on this weekend. So currently, Venezda, a 1.5 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 3, just a little bit to over. I think this is going to be a tough situation for Venezda to just sit there, Red Star Belgrade, and defend the whole time, which is what they're going to have to do against Man City. City have not been playing great. This is a good spot for them to use their backups and still get a big momentum-changing win. I don't think there's anything I want to do with that one. As for Leipzig and Young Boys, probably similar story. Leipzig 1.5 goal favorite, a little bit more juice on their side. Over unders 3.25, juice to over, almost all the way. Young Boys, nothing to play for here, really. Even if they're tied on points, they have a tiebreaker over Venezia. I think it's head-to-head first. So I don't really know what we're discussing. I think Leipzig used their backups, though I would love 3 points for a Pullman for a victory, but I don't think it matters, and I don't really want to back the young teams or young boys specifically that don't care about what's going on here. So next we'll move to hopefully a little bit more competitive of a group, and that's Group E. Atletico Madrid on 11 points, Lazio on 10, Feyenoord eliminated on 6, but they've clinched Europa League, Celtic bottom on 1. So this is a battle for Atleti and Lazio at the top to potentially win the group, which does matter because you face a runner-up as opposed to a group winner, and you get to avoid whoever is also in their same countries. So Atleti, if they hold on here and win, they I don't really know what they get to avoid, but we'll ultimately see. Lazio on the other side, they get to avoid potentially Inter. So that would be, they would avoid Inter anyway, I guess. So that doesn't necessarily matter. So I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter too much, but winning the group definitely gets you a weaker team in the next round. So I think they're all playing for that. We'll start with Atletico. They're a 1 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Lazio on the road. Over under is 2.5, juice to under. Celtic a 1/4 goal underdog at home. Juice to split both ways. Over under is 3, juiced heavily to under. Feyenoord. Well, I'll go in rotation order. So I'll start with Atletico Madrid against Lazio. So Lazio under streak has been awesome. They haven't scored many goals. They haven't conceded many goals as well. A pretty defensive setup. They had a bad, disappointing draw with Verona this weekend, the early matchup on Saturday. Atleti played way later. Not even sure I've caught up with that one just yet, but I have till Wednesday to get through that. So, as you know, I'll be watching a ton of these matches over the next few days. I'm not watching in the background. They're paused for after I record, but I'm interested in Lazio getting a full goal of insurance. They were outplayed that first match day. I think I took them as a pick 'em. They got a late goal from the goalkeeper who was up when they were really sacrificing everything to try to get a point. They were able to get it, and really, I think it has clinched them a Champions League knockout space because on 9 points, Feyenoord could still catch them. Regardless, Atleti, they're so good at home. They've played so much better there. I think I've really enjoyed the performances this year. They played a lot better than they have previously. Seemingly can't get over the Barcelona hump, but I guess not a lot of teams can. I think the easiest thing for me to think here is that Atleti are going to play their go ahead and kill the game type of style. I think you see Lazio do exactly the same thing, though. So the race to 1 goal is really important. And certainly you'll see whoever try to equalize, though a draw here keeps Atletico top of the group and probably make them more happy. If they take a lead, I think they're even more likely to just kill the game like they always do. At home, sometimes they score a lot more, but I think I'm willing to take that risk. Lazio just have not. Their under streak is too good at this point, and I don't really believe in either of these teams to try to win by multiple goals. They don't want to embarrass anybody. They've got big stuff on the weekend in their leagues, so I think under 2.5 is my biggest interest. I guess I do like Lazio, a 1 goal underdog, because I think Atleti, like I just said, go very conservative if they take a lead. I don't think they're trying to win this game by 2 goals. I think they're trying to win this match and just hang on, and even would hang on for a draw just to run the clock out and make sure they're top of the group. Celtic 1/4 goal underdog at home. Over under is 3. I just don't really know what the value is in either of these teams. Like both should be more worried about the weekend, which makes me think that potentially they put out some worse squads, but I think that impacts their defense almost more than it impacts offense. I think it impacts offense if you're facing capable defenses, but Celtic have not had a capable defense under Ange Postecoglou, who have certainly done a lot better with better players at Tottenham, but that defense is always up to for questions. Brendan Rodgers, the fill-in after being dismissed or sacked at Leicester when they were getting relegated. I mean, there's a lot of questions here. I guess under three, probably my interest. I don't know how much Feyenoord cares about this one. I think it's a good spot for them to get some very important potential experience for some young players, but I don't see where a lot of goals come. Next, go to the group of death, formerly known as Group F, which is Dortmund, Paris Saint-Germain, Newcastle, and AC Milan. Currently, Dortmund on 10 points have won the group, cannot be caught. On 7 points, PSG are runners up as it sits, but then Newcastle and Milan are both on 5. So there is some drama here. If Dortmund are able to beat PSG, then either Newcastle or Milan with a victory, they steal that second position. I'm wearing my Milan kit because I had to buy one as a Captain America place for their team when I was there this year. What was the other choice other than spending 115 euros? God knows how much that is. American, probably 125, something like that. So I guess not so bad. Nice shirt, long sleeve. You can tell me in the comments how much you like it, and I'll make sure to read if you put a 5-star review next to it. I'll read it next time. Regardless, Dortmund, they've been trying these new setups of playing really defensively or getting a red card that forced them to play a new defensive setup again with only 10 men this weekend against Leipzig. But somehow they've been awesome in Champions League. I've only conceded 3 goals, 3-1-1 so far, with I think a loss their last time out. They won last time out at Milan. It's hard to explain, but then you got PSG who Mbappe potentially got a little banged up this weekend. I think they were worried about him in warmups, and then he came out, played, got hurt, still played. I mean, there's some big questions there. PSG currently a half a goal favorite on the road, so Mbappe better be playing if they're going to support that number. Certainly, they've got a ton of great players, but I think this number changes significantly if he's not in there. Over under is 3, juice pretty heavily to under. And then I'll read the other lines before I go back to focusing on this one. Newcastle, a half a goal favorite, more of the juice. Over under is 2.75, juice pretty heavily to under. So Dortmund, I'll start the half a goal underdog at home. So what do they have to play for? They want to win the group. PSG beat them in Paris in the opening match day. I thought fairly controversially, Spanish refs just giving penalties they shouldn't. But so if PSG win, they will win the group, and Dortmund will be forced to face a group winner, a non-German one at that. So could be as bad as Manchester City. From a Paris Saint-Germain side, they want to win this match. They want to win Champions League. They want to do everything they can. They don't really care about Ligue 1 because they think it's going to be something they win anyway. They're starting to pull away a little bit at the top, but that was going to be expected, I think, at some point. I think what that means is Dortmund know that a draw is good enough for them to top the group, and it's important for Edin Terzic, their manager, because there's a lot of pressure on him right now. I suspect going out of the DFB Pokal, getting some bad results, and playing pretty unaggressive football, which I don't think any of the Dortmund Schwarzgelben fans really like. So there's a lot of questions there. PSG, Mbappe is the biggest question. But as a road favorite, I don't do those really. So only the way I'd look is Dortmund and trying to play off that crowd. I think they can get revenge against PSG. But I think I also like under 3 just because Dortmund's newfound defensive ways. I think they're trying to protect their defense. It's worked so far this season. Maybe not as aggressively defending like they have been, like literally putting 10 men behind the ball. That's new. But I think it probably would be a useful type of strategy, especially when a draw wins them the group. No Mbappe getting a half of a goal in Dortmund, I think is probably a play just to say I'll bet against PSG and make them prove it to me. Even with Mbappe in there, I think they're going to play defensively, and I think that points to under even more. It's a little juice at the moment, not we're approaching even money on over 3, but I do love that total, and I want to get some reports on Kylian Mbappe, even the wrong soccer reporters that are never correct. Might be doing some dabbling and reading what they're saying because I don't want to lose that 3 if I play under. Newcastle, Milan on the other one, big match at the very least for Europa League. It looks like Newcastle have the tiebreaker, so if they draw, I think it was goalless at Milan. If they draw, then Newcastle are better goal differential, so they get to go to Europa League. I don't think that matches the expectations, but ultimately first Champions League run in a while with all their injuries. I think there's been a lot of problems there. But with that said, Newcastle a half a goal favorite. It's pretty pricey. Milan had a tough matchup on the road at Atalanta. They're dealing with a ton of injuries themselves, but specifically defenders. I think we're playing Teo Hernandez at center back, which didn't really go too poorly. I don't think they did concede 3 goals, which is really bad for them. Atalanta, though, I think we're playing pretty well, and we're at home, et cetera, et cetera. Not too much of a trip. We were thinking about going to Bergamo when I was in Milan, but I got delayed a day by the Italian country shutting down their airports for a day for a strike. So there we go. No Atalanta history for me. Newcastle, they've been really bad on the road. They are awesome at home, have a huge crowd behind them, and that somehow scores some goals. I guess I'm choosing to believe in it as opposed to want to bet against it and lose. But I feel like I want to bet against the lose here because I don't really believe in them. I do think there's more safety in under 2 3/4. I would love to get a 3 here, but juice doesn't certainly look like it's going that way at the moment. I think Newcastle they're just so banged up in their attacking areas. I mean, they're banged up everywhere. I mean, a formerly bottom of the Premier League type of club that all of a sudden playing Champions League. Like, I think we all predicted this was not going to go very well. They've been a very good fade away from St. James Park, I believe is the name, but I got to put Milan on the list because I don't believe in Newcastle. I think this is going to be a really tough one, especially a lot of the nerves of trying to hang on to their berth into at least the Europa League. Now, both of these teams want to win. That does potentially cause some problems for staying under, though. Like I said earlier, I think 2 competent teams that are trying to attack. They have good defenses, and they're going to probably have more of a basketball game feel and more shots than I'd like. But they're it's going to be hard to put those in the net. I imagine Nick Pope is out for this one. The Newcastle goalkeeper Dubravka has shown some big mistakes, like he did, I think, against Spain in the Euros or against someone in the Euros. I think he got ball caught in the light or the sunlight or something like that and let a very easy one in. But he's been okay. Another match though, I'd love to see Newcastle lineup before I talk more about this. So I guess it makes sense to move on to the next group and the last group, and then we'll do ultimate best bets. And then I'll maybe go to sleep at a normal time, but I'm just running on fumes. I guess that's how it goes now. So Antwerp hosts Barcelona. Currently, Antwerp a 1-goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 3. Juice very heavily to under. Porto on the other side are 1.25 goal favorite. Most of the juice on Shakhtar Donetsk on the road. Over under is 2 3/4. Just a little bit to over. Now for the group, Barcelona on 12 points, Porto on 9, Shakhtar Donetsk on 9, and Antwerp on 0. Barca could be caught, I guess, but they've beaten Porto twice, so they have that tiebreaker, and then I think split with Shakhtar Donetsk. So really depends on tiebreakers there, and that would be wild, especially because they are playing an Antwerp side. I think they're up 5-0 on the first time. Antwerp, one of the least likely teams to get in, upsets all the way through, I think, to get in, but credit the Belgian side. They've tried. They've not been good. -12 goal differential in 5 matches. It's pretty embarrassing. Only scored 3 goals. So Antwerp only getting a goal from Barcelona. Even the Barcelona backups, they're too strong in their reserves. I don't want anything to do with that. Played under the first time, thought that Antwerp would be able to do something, and they were not. I think it's too far off. I'm not really looking to back a team that really has nothing to play for, and they're on 0 points, bottom of the table. Now, the one to look at is Porto, and they're hosting Shakhtar Donetsk. Now, Shakhtar Donetsk have no home pitches or home field advantage or home anything in this competition, but somehow are tied on points with 9 with Porto. Could potentially win the group if they somehow got Barcelona to lose. That'd be amazing. I kind of rooting for it as a pro-Ukraine person here, Slava Ukraina, but at the same time, I do wonder how they do it. Now, Mihailo Mudryk was their guy that was just basically running on counterattack, scoring all the time. Hasn't been able to do that at Chelsea because it's not the way that this whole world works. But what I see here is a pretty big favorite on Porto, who got to be pretty nervous because if they'd drawn either their decent performances against Barcelona, I thought they were better the first time they played at home, but got screwed by a bad handball call, in my humble opinion. This last time, I think Barcelona were much better, but Porto hung on. And that's what they do. Liga Portugal sides, I think, do really well in this competition until Benfica this year. But Porto have done really well. They knocked out Juventus a couple seasons ago. Got Oliveira moved to Milan in January based on how well he dominated Juve. And then he's, I think, somewhere in Galatasaray in Turkey or something like that. But I think it's going to be a tough match for Porto. I think every second, if they fall behind, I feel like the nerves really come. I know that it's going to be tough at the Stadio Dragao. I think they hosted the Champions League final a few seasons ago during COVID. They're a great team, but I think had some shaky like performances in this tournament, and I feel like it's not been as easy for them as I thought it would be. Shakhtar Donetsk, they can lose by a goal here. Yes, they'll be pushing it, and they'll certainly be throwing their caution to the wind, putting their goalkeeper up for late corner kicks. I know I keep talking about this scenario because it's happened to me and I've lost on it before. It doesn't happen very often though, thankfully. Or I'd have no hair on my head from ripping it all out probably. But I think this, like, I have Porto and some pools, and I'm not very comfortable right now that they're going to advance. I think they're the second best team in this group, but I haven't been that impressed, and they have to win by a lot here. And I think Shakhtar Donetsk are road warriors. They know what it's like. They honestly, I feel like even though there's not all Ukrainians playing, they bring it in and they play like they are fighting a war against Russia every time they're stepping on the pitch, and that does certainly make me want to like. A lot of managers say, yeah, my guys will die for this team. Usually they're relegation fighters in top 5 European soccer leagues. I feel like Shakhtar Donetsk is one of those teams I trust more than almost anybody. Getting a goal in a quarter two, even if this falls to 1, as it's juiced a little bit more to the road team, fine. I'll push on a single goal loss. I think they can draw here, which seems like Porto go through from the head-to-head from winning the first matchup, but so be it if that does occur. I'm very, very intrigued by this one. I think it's gonna be a great matchup. I'm sad it's the last match of the window, and I'll probably watch it on Thursday. Try not to get spoiled. But in terms of total, Shakhtar, I think are gonna play an open game. It's weird because Porto, I think, are gonna they're gonna be more conservative as a big home favorite. And so I think that kind of plays the Shakhtar's hands even more. So I like that under 2 3/4. I'd love to get a full 3 though. I don't have that yet, so it's probably not one I'm gonna play. But it's just one of those I'm pretty in. So I'm very interested in it. And Slava Ukraine, I mean, I'd love for Porto to move on, but I think this is gonna be a tough match, and I think I will probably be on Shakhtar Donetsk in some form or fashion. So it's ultimate best bet time for the show. I can finally go to sleep, hopefully only 12:30 local time here in Dallas. Looking to potentially go somewhere else. If someone's got a job offer me somewhere else, I will probably take it. Just make sure you make me rich and allow me to do these late night episodes or something like that. But thank you if you're watching on YouTube. Hit subscribe for an Apple Podcast or Spotify. Leave a 5-star review, and I will add it to. I'll get it read on one of the podcasts that I do each week. Stay tuned for Tuesday Night NFL with Andrew Snicker coming out. I guess it's Tuesday already here, but tonight. Wednesday, Need for Seeds with Big East Ben. We're going to figure out what the heck to go over because this basketball card is awful. We'll might even just preview the weekend. Some big games on Saturday because there are some dogs and not the underdogs I usually like to bet this week. Other than that, still putting plays out on pregame all the time. I think I'm still in the 70% range in college basketball picks, trying to keep that going, of course. It's been a good run. Had a great year last year. Netted 36 units. I think it was like 60 something percent. Going to try to keep doing that. It's not always likely, and it's been a hot start. So get ready to weather some storms. But I feel like I'm in a good zone right now. Trying to keep that going as well, and trying to get these soccer stoppage time bad beats to subside. I guess it's part of the game, and it does happen. More goals seem to be scored there than any time, but man, it's hurting the ROI a lot. So on this Champions League has been really good to me. I think my best day was when I got stuck outside of the Inter Milan match and couldn't get my bets in. I think everyone that got them on pregame or on my Patreon all profited, and I was the only one that didn't. Sad story, but I'm glad I did it for you. That brings up my Patreon. If you're not a member yet, become a patron. Patreon.com/real_G Warner. You get all my picks all in the same place. Get my leans each night. Get my write-ups as I do them. You get notifications every time I lock something in. And also, go check out the referral links below for the different casinos because a lot of people have been signing up lately. I appreciate that. I'm really hoping that we can use all of the free casino dollars to make as much money as possible and make this all easier. And I don't think I have a tipping situation, but if you're making some money for me, that'd be a nice way to support me as well. Patreon.com/real_G Warner. So without further ado, let's get into it. This is the real_G Warner on Twitter, Patreon, Instagram. I'm doing my ultimate best bet for this Champions League match day 6, the last match day of the Champions League season, before we get to figure out who's making the knockouts. So for Tuesday, my best bet is Union Berlin under 3 goals, and Wednesday, Lazio under 2.5. And for my best bet on this episode, it's hard going between these two because I think they're both two good defenses. Really, I mean, Real Madrid is great. Union Berlin's not going to threaten them much. But I think my bigger interest is in the Lazio understreak. They've seen so few goals. So I don't have the stats in front of me right now, but I feel like I'm betting under every match, and that's usually returning, barring some crazy late goals or something like that in stoppage time. I think the same thing happens here. I think it also plays into more of a strategy type of focus here for Atletico Madrid, a 1-goal favorite at home. I think they want to win this game, kill the match. I think Lazio want to do exactly the same thing. So I'll play under 2.5 and hopefully goalless. And that'll do it for this episode of Betting the Pitch. Thank you for tuning in late night. Follow me on Twitter, on all the socials, slide in some DMs if you want to chat businesses. People have come in with some business ideas. I appreciate that, and we'll always consider that as a great idea moving forward. So love you all. Hope you have a great evening, and hopefully we can make some money over the next few days, because we're certainly going big, and let's kill it.